Greetings, fellow Gitalalians. Jeff Weinberger coming at you with a new tutorial. I'd like to talk about electric blues playing in the key of E. I'm actually tuned down to E flat right now. I was working on a little bit of Hendrixy type stuff and really inspired by Voodoo Child. And I'd like to show you a couple things I've been observing about Hendrix and blues and just that sort of world in general. It doesn't have to be only Hendrix. We could be talking about Buddy Guy, Stevie Ray, Eric Clapton, any of those great blues players, maybe a little Muddy Waters and B.B. King thrown in there. But let's look at some of the things you can do if you're just getting started and you want to know how do I play a good blues in E? Well, Hendrix is probably one of the first places to go. And in Voodoo Child, he does an awful lot with this motif. He takes the note G, that's the minor third of the key, that's the third note of the scale, and he brings that down to E, that motif of G falling down to E. Not just in his playing, though. You hear Buddy Guy do that all the time. I mentioned B.B. King, Stevie Ray, Eric Clapton. This is a real super common thing, but let's check that out. All over the guitar, we have the note G and we have the note E. Well, the first place you hear it in Voodoo Child is right here. So you're taking the note G at the 3rd fret of your low E string and bringing that down to E, your open E string. You can do it as you pick both of those notes, or you can pull it off and bend that G a little bit, which gives it that kind of moaning, crying sort of sound. Very bluesy. You can do G to E right here if you wanted to. Matter of fact, the melody of Voodoo Child, the stuff Jimi Hendrix sings, that has that motif of G down to E. A lot of blues solos start with that. Crossroads by Eric Clapton, his solo starts with that minor third going down to the root. Strange Brew, the song Strange Brew, throughout it has that little motif. Really good blues lick, and you hear Buddy Guy do that quite a bit too. So G to E. Let's look at other places. Right here on the 8th fret of your B string. Right here on the 9th fret of your G string. Great place to locate those two notes. The song Dust My Broom by Elmore James, old blues song. That has that motif in it. G down to E. So I'm just talking key of E here. Of course, we could be talking about any of the 12 keys of music, but I picked E because that's the most common for electric blues guitar players to be playing in. Key of A is just as valid, key of D, all of them are great. Here's another place you can play G and E. 12th fret of your G string and the 14th fret of your D string. That definitely is a very common place. That's not like out of the way. That's somewhere where a lot of people have tread right there. In fact, that part of the neck on my guitar is a little bit worn down from playing there so much. We use that 12th fret a lot, the E minor pentatonic, E minor blues, E Dorian minor, all the variations of an E scale that you might use in a blue, Mixolydian if you were in more of a major. Like a Jeff Beck situation from the 70s, that kind of jazz rock fusion, Mixolydian, that's a great sound too. So right there at the 12th fret, that G and E, very convenient. There's another one way up here, and this would be 15th fret of your high E string, and the 17th fret of your B string. So I bend that G a lot. I'm not the only one. I mean, that's a very common thing. I picked that up from hearing so many great players do that, rock players and blues players. You could call that squeezing the note a little bit, maybe, or leaning on the note, I sometimes refer it to as. whatever you think of it as. It's that note G falling down to the note E. So generally I've been showing this to you as two different strings, the G on one string, the E on a different string. But of course you can do them on the same string, like that. That's a great lick, where G is at the 8th fret of your B string, E is down here on the 5th fret of your B string. That's a nice opening statement for a solo or a fill in between the vocals. It's G down to E. Now, just a little bit of historical information about why does G down to E in the key of E sound so bluesy? Why does it sound so good? And a lot of that has to do with singing. I mean, think about where blues came from. It came from field hollers. It came from spirituals. It came from the African American experience down south and further back to Africa. And so this motif, this bluesy motif of the minor third down to E, the root, it's just something our ears associate with blues, and it has a long history and tradition in vocal music. So when you put it on the guitar, of course, we're kind of imitating vocals. So that's really important to know, is that you want it to be as vocal-like as possible. You're almost pretending like you're singing those phrases. Or in the case of someone like Carlos Santana, or a guitar player as expressive as that, you actually are singing. He's singing through his instrument. And so it should be kind of vocal-like when you're trying to sound like you're playing the blues. Don't think it doesn't have to be technical. It can be technical. You can have chops. You can be Joe Bonamassa or Josh Smith or somebody with some serious chops playing the blues too. Or you can be more slow hand and just play a couple of notes and do basic stuff. So this is kind of geared towards you who are just getting into this, that don't know this stuff yet. But I just wanted to introduce you to really effective way to sound bluesy, to sound Hendrixy, and to sound authentic and express yourself. And that's find a couple notes you really like. Don't worry about all the notes, just find two. Today we're talking about G and E. So just to wrap it up, G and E can be found here, like Hendrix used. Very bluesy. It can be found here. Here. Can be found here. Here. On the same string. All over the place. That's just a small sampling of the places you can find G and E. So try it for yourself. See if you can make up some really cool blues phrases with just two notes. And you won't be that far off from your heroes, from all the greats that use this every day in their playing. All right, Get to Lalians. Hope you enjoyed that. I will leave a link down below so you can get to some tab and remind yourself of some of these great note locations. And also, I'll probably throw in a couple of free licks too, so you can grab onto those and get yourself started. All right, Get to Lalians. You take care. Bye-bye.